Hello, everybody, and welcome to Everything But the Cats, the podcast where we talk about everything. And in our mission, our, our desire to talk about everything, we occasionally talk about the cats. But we're doing our best not to do that and to leave that to the experts, because if I know anything, it's that we are experts on definitely not the cats. Anyways, my name's Gage,
I, as always, am DJ.
and we're Everything But the Cats. As you've probably heard by now, at some point, if you've been with us for a while, we occasionally do these things that we call the baby archives. And the baby archives are an effort for us to tell stories, as DJ has explained, mostly short history stories,
His story.
or just interesting things that we want to talk about. Now, I say or every time so far, it's been something in history. So, we'll see what we're doing today. And DJ, DJ's great. He's willing to go to places most people won't so that he can bring us the best stories. And so DJ's actually going to dive deep and he's going to explain the beauty and, some of the benefits and the negatives for sure, but mostly the benefits of the sexual revolution in the 60s.
Yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
No, what are we talking about today, DJ?
When I told Angela what we were going to be talking about today, she joked that the show should, in fact, be called Aviation Accidents, but the Cats. So today we're going to be talking about if you listen to any of my baby archives, you know that I have a penchant for aviation stuff. And by stuff, I mean accidents and sometimes people eating each other. Not this time. We're going to talk about aviation stuff. And yeah, we're talking about two separate incidents because I was going to do one of them, but then all of a sudden I kind of came across another one and I thought I might as well do them both. But this time I'm not following Wikipedia closely, so with the goal being that I can kind of really quickly go over them without like having to get bogged down in the details.
So
Um,
I started studying this one plane that flew into a tower, and then a few minutes later I came across another plane that flew into the tower next to it.
you're never going to believe what happened to the third plane and then the fourth plane. Yeah, so Gage, I have options for you.
Okay.
So I need to know what you're more interested in. To hear first, you'll hear them both.
Okay.
So option one, and if you have anything you know about these when I mention them, feel free to let me know that. So option one is the kind of the origin story of the Bermuda Triangle. Option two is the best way to summarize it is the word STENDEC.
So I've never heard of either of these in a way that makes what you just said stick out to me.
Cool.
So
Great.
I'm going to say let's start with the one that you think is better to start with.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the one that I know more about
Let's go.
because it was the one I was researching, and then like 40 minutes before 8, I came across the other one. So this is STENDEC.
Okay.
So the year is 1947, and it's got a similarity to one of the aviation stories I've already talked about. I talked about the Chilean flight or Uruguayan flight, the rugby team that they crash into a mountain, they eat each other. Potato, human Lego, um, whatever. So this is in a similar area. There's a plane flying. I can't remember where it's flying from or to. Again, I'm not looking at notes. But in the Andes, so down in South America, it's flying, we'll say, Chile to Uruguay. Why not? I'm wrong, to be clear. Just know, if you come in the comments, tell me I'm wrong. First of all, we'll be honored. Comments are great for us. Please do. Let me know how wrong I am. But anyways, they're making this flight, and as they're coasting along, everything is business as usual. And then I don't know if air traffic control asks them for an update or if they pass an update on air traffic control. I say business as usual. It's winter and it's like really there's not good visibility. They're flying with their instruments and it's Yeah, just not great visibility. And so they know that they're flying up at, 20,000 feet until they get past the mountains. And then once they're past the mountains, they're going to start their descent into the city that they're going to. And so the tower asks for an update. They pass on an update. They say, hey, we're over here and doing good. STENDEC, spelled STENDEC. And then, so STENDEC, this is actually really interesting. In kind of the aviation community, it means literally nothing. Like, it has no meaning whatsoever. And so the air traffic control, they reach back out. They're like, oh, and this is all happening through Morse code because this is 1947.
Oh.
And so the air traffic controller or whatever reaches out and says, say again. And they're like, hey, here's where we're at. STENDEC. And then they reach out one more time and they say, so sorry. Say that one more time. And they're like, hey, here's where we're at. STENDEC. And then
So
from that point on,
they were actually playing Magic the Gathering, and they made a stun deck.
ooh,
And they just, the vowels got switched around a little bit.
rookie mistake.
Yeah.
From that point forward, they hear nothing from this plane. And then after a while, it becomes clear this plane, it hasn't made it to where it's supposed to go, and it's not going to because it's been, it's hours late. And so they're calling out, not hearing anything. This is, like I said, this is 1947, and they get nothing from it. And then into the following years, there are all these conspiracy theories, right? Like aliens, or I don't know if this was actually a prevailing theory. Nazis. They were around Argentina, probably. I don't know.
Literally Hitler.
Literally Hitler. I who can say? But there are theories about what's happening.
German. That sounds like a German word for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that being Nazis. I could also see it be the Stendecians from UB49.
Amen. I don't think Nazis was actually a theory, but then obviously more tame theories, such as they went down in the mountains, like they got ice on their wings and stuff like that. And then kind of a prevailing theory was that we talked about, it was in the cannibalism episode, and then what's the other one I talked about? It's just away from me at the moment.
The Canary Islands.
Yeah. You're right. That is not related to this at all. But in the other episode, I talked about controlled flight into terrain.
Yes.
And as a reminder for anyone that I know you all listened to it earlier, but now you're listening to this one too, and it's been a while. As a reminder, the idea is that you're a pilot, you can't see, you've got your instruments, and you've got that knowledge, but you can't see outside the cockpit because you're flying in clouds or whatever. And so based on your best knowledge, you've lost spatial awareness at some point as to kind of where you are. Based on your knowledge, you're flying straight and level and everything is great. You lose that impression right as all of a sudden you see the mountain that you're flying into, or you're actually flying down into the ground, but as far as you're exactly where you need to be, everything's going well, and all of a sudden, oh crap, I was wrong. And so it's called controlled flight into terrain, because it's it's controlled, you're flying like you mean to be flying right into something. And it's a pretty common source of aviation accidents, because you get in the soup, you get where you can't see anything, and it's easy for your mind to play tricks on you. Specifically, the theory was that the
is that a tower?
9 out of 11 people are not subscribed to our channel, and we would love it if you would subscribe. Anyways, specifically, the theory was that they were flying in the jet stream, which wasn't super well understood at the time. And so they are flying into the jet stream, but it's blowing against them, giving them a headwind, which means that they're flying much slower than what they think they are. And so they think that they've cleared the mountains, so they begin their descent into the mountains is kind of the idea. So what do you think happened, Gage?
I think STENDEC is the name of a person who. No, I think they were like messing up SOS. They were trying to say SOS for some reason, and STENDEC is what came out. Or STENDEC was the name of a person who was on the flight because they had the Russian for some reason. And
German?
Russian, German, Ukrainian, somewhere in there, honestly. STENDEC. It's got a very like Slavic kind of sound to it. And they were taking over. It's like that meme about somebody saying, "Bear with me," and like
Yeah.
yeah, there's a bear with me. STENDEC, yeah.
So I want to propose. I just want to make clear if they were trying to say SOS, they you know how SOS sounds on Morse code, right?
Yeah. It's like beep 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 beep. That one, right?
Yeah. Dot 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 dash 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 dot dot dot.
Yeah.
So they meant to type dot 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 dash 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 dot dot dot, but what they accidentally typed was dot 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 dash dot dash dot dash dot 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 dash dot, which is one heck of a rookie mistake.
They got the first one right.
That's true. Not only that, not only did they like butcher SOS. Oh, man, what was I gonna say?
They butchered it 3 times in a row.
No, they butchered it 3 times. Not only did they butcher it 3 times in a row, they say everything's going as planned. Here's where we are. SOS.
Bear with me.
Yeah. SOS with me. STENDEC with me. So yeah, so we will get into some theories about STENDEC, but first, in 1998, some hikers were hiking out in the mountains. So like I said, this is 1947. Some hikers are hiking out in the mountains. And Gage, have you ever been hiking, would you say?
Yeah.
Have you ever found pieces of an airplane while you're out hiking? Yeah, it's not a common experience. So when they found them, they told the authorities. And the authorities came out and discovered that this was, in fact, this flight. It was this plane. And they were able to, like 50 years later, they were able to look at the debris and tell from something about the propeller or like just different things that it looked like essentially the plane had flown straight. I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna parse it afterwards. Straight into this volcano. By that I mean the side of the volcano and not the pit. And
it's like, wow,
then
I feel like we're going. I don't feel like we're going level with the ground.
it's warm in here. But yeah, so they found bits and pieces and they were able to tell essentially it looked like it was controlled flight into terrain into the side of this mountain. There were rumors of like an SOS signal that had maybe been heard a couple days after the accident. So that's sad potentially. What?
STENDEC.
Yeah. The farmer or whatever that's picking up this signal on his shed is like the F.
He's like, so the first letter's S. It's probably SOS.
Stand down. Sterile. No. Stendec. What?
Send help. SOS.
Send what? He said, everything's going well, business as usual. Send nudes. So yeah. Anyways, so that's solved. There, it was not aliens, or if it was, the aliens said, "Hey, you should have a pretty routine accident into the side of this mountain." So probably wasn't aliens. It wasn't the Russians. Probably wasn't even icing. Could have been icing, but was probably just loss of situational awareness. Flew into a mountain. Tale as old as time. Song as old as rhyme.
I do it every day.
Every day. Beauty and the Beast. So, anyways, that's that. But then the question stands: what is STENDEC? And you've already done your part trying to parse it, and people have wondered, like, is it some sort of SOS message? And they don't think so for the reasons we've already talked about, where it like they're sending it 3 times in a row, very kind of casually. Not doing it. And so not only that, the person that was manning the the radio or whatever, the Morse dude, was well experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy that is handling it like knows what he's doing and is not, I don't know if he's like renowned as like one of the good ones. Like he was like the one non-racist telegraph operator or whatever. But he's like he's well experienced. So
Teleprompter.
It's like what?
Teleprompter.
Teleprompter, yes. So the something that's not an option is that it's some sort of like rookie mistake. Like this guy knows what he's doing. So the next question is, the cabin wasn't pressurized and they had to fly pretty high to get over the mountains. And so a theory that a lot of people have had is that STENDEC is an anagram for descent. It's got all the same letters. And so the question is, did they have hypoxia, like where they didn't have enough oxygen and he's kind of lightheaded, and so he's sending STENDEC?
Yeah, but like, wouldn't that affect the other words too?
Yes. Yeah, so it's a bad theory because this guy, so they also have supplemental oxygen. So like they're breathing in oxygen this whole time. And then the theory goes that this guy is typing the rest of his words perfectly fine, and then the word descent comes along. He takes his mask off,
This man
slams out STENDEC the exact same way 3 times, and then, I don't know, leaves his mask off. Who knows what he does with his mask at that point?
See, the cabin having like not being pressurized really just puts more into the aliens theory. Because did they find the bodies?
I don't know.
Okay.
But they did. There was one of the wheels from the plane was there, still inflated after 50 years. They should have built the whole thing out of that.
I wonder how efficient a rubber plane would be. Not, I know,
No.
but still.
So STENDEC, it's probably not hypoxia. It's not like some rookie mistake. So there are even more theories. There are more ideas. And so if you separate out the dots and dashes differently, the ST from... Okay, sorry, another theory. The plane's name, because back in the day, planes all had super cute nicknames. The plane's nickname was Stardust. And so there's like, were they trying to sign off by saying Stardust? 1947 BSAA Avro Lancastrian Stardust Accident is what the Wikipedia article is called. So it's called Stardust, and so the question is like, did this guy mean to say Stardust, and he accidentally, like a genuine idiot, said STENDEC? And again,
that would be me.
Well, two things. First, the guy's not a rookie. Like, he's well experienced. He wouldn't do that. If it were hypoxia and he was trying to say Stardust, he probably wouldn't spell it the same way 3 times and wouldn't say spell all the other words correctly. And then they also didn't sign off like that back then. So they would have signed off by like the flight number instead, or something like that, or the plane's like, not necessarily their call sign, like their the plane's number. So like a lot of, like in private flight, it's like November whatever, starts with an N and then goes from there. So that's how they would have signed off. So that theory doesn't fly either, kind of like the plane. And
Anymore.
So then the next theory, it gets into kind of more of the actual like here's Morse code, and based on Morse code, here's how it could have been misinterpreted, or like here's what he could have meant to say. And so huge shout out to PBS. They helped with my research, and then Wikipedia helped as well. So the apparently the sign off for a Morse code message, like you're sending a Morse code message, you're done with the message, you finish it with AR. The Morse for AR is dot dash dot dash dot, which, and I'm essentially quoting this word for word from PBS, which is identical, although with different spacings, to EC. So STENDEC, EC, ends with EC. which is dot, dash, dot, dash, dot. Similarly, another Morse expert pointed out that to attract attention, it's common to use the dots and dash for V as a calling up sign. So you're like, hey, attention, listen to this, v, STENDEC. And so that's dot, dot, dot. However, ST also works out as, sorry, that's dot, 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 dash. ST is dot, 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 dash, which leaves the word, if you have both of those kind of like misunderstandings, you've got essentially, hey, what I'm about to say is really important, and I'm signing off, which is weird. And like, what does that have to do with anything? And not only is it weird because like it's weird to say, hey, what I'm about to say is really important, deuces. It's weird because what he says is everything is proceeding as it ought to be. Hey, what I'm about to say is really important. This message I'm about to send is really important. This has been a message. And then they say, what was that again? And he says, everything's going great. Hey, this is really important. Message is over. And they're like, all right, one more time. And he says, hey, everything's going great. By the way, super important. Goodbye now. And so even that theory that like gets into the Morse code and decodes all of it doesn't make any sense. And so ultimately, where everyone has landed is that it was a mistake on that guy's part. Like he didn't mean to send STENDEC because it doesn't mean anything, but no one knows what he possibly could have meant to send instead. And yeah, so that is STENDEC. Do you have any more thoughts or questions or anything?
So, what if, like, this is a very important message, the end, right?
Yeah,
Essentially, like, kind of, like, this is important, pay attention, the end, it's over, done, right? Like, things are going according to plan. What if the plan wasn't to make it to the city?
mm,
What if the plan was to fly into the side of the volcano or into the side of the mountain? Like, what if the, according to the dude, like, so what if he had like some kind of like you know, he was depressed, or he had some kind of a like a mental break or something, or had like an like some kind of an episode, and he was like, oh, I need to fly this plane, like I need to hijack the plane and crash it for some reason. And so he's like, everything's going according to plan. I've got the pilot tied up, and I'm about to fly it down.
sure. So the actual message was ETA. It was sent at 5:41 p.m. or 17:41 was the actual message was ETA Santiago 17:45 STENDEC. It's like, hey, we're going to be arriving in 4 minutes. STENDEC. Arriving to the ground in 4 minutes. Oh.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a theory. It's definitely an idea that someone has had um, surrounding this today.
Today. I wonder if other people have had that theory.
Yeah,
Maybe it truly is just not a good one, and other people dismiss it pretty quickly. But maybe, just maybe, it's an okay
I'm going to
one.
Google it right now. All right, this person on internet suggests that the message is not ETA 1745 like Santiago or Stendek. It's ETA 745 VALP, as in they were landing at Valparaiso Airport instead. Interesting. Well, I should have done research into that beforehand. So maybe they said that they were going to a different airport that was like, they ended up north of where they needed to be, and the airport was also north of Santiago. And so looks like maybe they were trying to redirect, and then they did into a volcano. Anyways, this has been STENDEC, and yeah, feel free to look into it. Search for it on Reddit. Maybe someone has solved it. So that'd be fun. Anyways, the next story will be much quicker, and we will talk about how the Bermuda Triangle got its reputation, I guess.
thought you were
I'm
about to
sure
say
it kind of.
name, and I was like, well, it's a triangle in Bermuda.
You know what's interesting about? So I was
It's not in Bermuda, I know.
yeah, no, that's right. It's one of the points though. No, so it's interesting. Like any 3 points, as long as like two or three of them are not in a line, can be joined to become a triangle, right?
Yeah.
Uh, nothing breaks that rule. And it's I remember being a like third, fourth grader playing baseball machine pitch and playing in the outfield and like intentionally lining myself up so that like, all right, I'm in this position. It's got to be the right position because I'm in a straight line. There's a straight line between me and the pitcher, and a straight line between me and that guy, and a straight line between me and that guy, and a straight line between me and that guy. Like I've got a straight line with everyone. This is the perfect place for me to be. And then like 10 years later I learned that maybe less, definitely less than that. But I learned that literally any 2 points that aren't like the same point, there's a straight line that can connect them. And I'm like, man, what an idiot! That little fourth grader freaking
Sometimes it just
scrub.
needs to go through another person.
Oh yeah, and I would if I needed to.
Just bisect them.
Yeah. So, anyways, the Bermuda Triangle is a triangle. Bermuda Triangle. I honestly I don't even know. So the Bahamas are down there. So there's Bermuda. There's the tip of Florida.
Jamaica. Ooh. Continue.
I'm googling this.
What?
Keep telling your joke while I Google.
I was just Bermuda, Jamaica.
Mm.
Ooh, I wanna take you to Bahama. No.
The Beach Boys are trying to murder you. It's roughly defined as the area between Bermuda, Florida, and Puerto Rico.
Those are my three favorite kinds of grass.
Anyways, the Bermuda Triangle. It is what do you know about the Bermuda Triangle, Gage?
So I know that Scooby Doo had a special in the Bermuda Triangle. I know that when I was a child, it was one of the three things I was the most afraid of. And I know that the scientific community as a whole agrees that the reason there's a big amount of shipwrecks and plane disappearances and stuff is because it's an area of high traffic. Um, I also know that that doesn't explain a lot of the other stuff that happened there, but a lot of the other stuff that happened there happens elsewhere too.
I
High traffic, yet again.
I like your specific wording of the scientific community as a whole, because that implies that like 9 out of 10 dentists agree that the Bermuda Triangle is bad because of high traffic. Hey everyone, welcome to Everything But the Cats, your conspiracy theory show. We don't really lean too far either direction, which a lot of conspiracy theorists probably would think we're wimps or whatever for that. So, yep, welcome.
We just like aliens, and I want weird stuff to be real, but not the bad weird stuff that is real.
Yeah, not Israel. The
Oh man. Like, why do we have to deal with like racism and like sexism and all this bad stuff that goes on in the world? Let's have Bigfoot and the Bermuda Triangle and aliens. Let's have those be our problems.
I want to be clear. The Bermuda Triangle, like, it kills people. Bigfoot is chill. I'm with ya.
Yeah, but you know what else kills people? The three things I mentioned earlier that are
Bigfoot.
real. No,
Oh yeah,
racism, sexism, and I don't remember the other thing.
wasn't important.
I might have just said and all this other bad stuff. I'm pretty
Wasn't
sure that's
important.
exactly what I just said.
That's fine.
Um,
Yeah. So the year is 1945, and
bro, you're just digging the
I
40s.
yeah, big decade for death.
World War II,
Yeah.
planes,
No other major causes of death.
trains, automobiles,
No, we don't talk about the trains.
the Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Is that? I thought that was World War One.
It might have been World War One.
World War
Yeah, because
Fun,
it
am
was
I
in
right?
yeah, because it was in the 20s. So yeah,
Yeah.
World War One. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So I'm pretty sure it was 45, And the Navy is doing essentially is sending some guys out for training. And so it's called Flight 19, which I feel like flight whatever implies that it's one plane out to do his thing, but it's five planes. And it's one kind of head honcho who has a name that you can look up on your own after this. And he, has some people in his plane with him, but then he's bringing a squad of trainees and their four other planes to go practice dropping some bombs. It's like on Chicken Shoals or something like that out around the Bahamas. And so they fly down to the Bahamas. And military stuff is better than kind of the commercial stuff that's available at the time. And so they've got voice, like they've got audio that they're able to talk to each other with. Which also, like, the history of radio and stuff like that is insane, because we should do an episode on that sometime, because it's just insane to me, like television programming and like film stuff and audio editing existed before computers existed, and how there are radio things from the 20s, and computers like computers weren't being used for that. Insane. I don't get it. It's cool, and it's ingenuity or whatever. I don't know. Insane. Anyways, they've got audio, and I don't think I could like play the audio, but like people reported at least hearing the audio.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's audio of like someone asking permission to drop their last bomb. And so they drop off their bombs, and they're fake bombs or whatever. And then from that point, things start to go sideways. And it essentially so if you on Wikipedia, it has kind of one set of events. On is like military.gov, it's got a different set of events, because again, this is like a Navy training exercise. I mean, I guess who else would be dropping bombs? So military.gov has kind of a different kind of events. And so essentially, taking these two and synthesizing them, what happens is, as they're going to kind of fly back, someone realizes that like their GPS is broken, or like they're just kind of lost. And so they are messaging, and there's some confusion back and forth, like, hey, who just said that they're lost? Like, give me your call sign, idiot. And so kind of some back and forth, they give each other call signs, and then there's just like this confusing, like, all right, well, we're at the Florida Keys, which means we need to head northeast to get back to Florida. I don't know where the Keys are, but we're in the Florida Keys. We need to head northeast to get back to Florida. And so let's set a heading of, I guess, 90 to fly like due east. And so they set that heading, and they realize after a while they fly for maybe an hour, and they should have, if they were in the Florida Keys and they flew for like that direction for an hour, they should have seen land within like 20 minutes. So for an hour, they would have seen land in 20 minutes. And so they realize at that point, like, okay, we're not seeing land. Like, what's going on? Where are we? And so they're calling in like, hey, we're not seeing land. We're lost. We're discombobulated. And then they decide that they need to go west instead. So they essentially turn around. And then finally, the last message that's heard is someone saying like, all right, boys, let's fly nice and tight together. As soon as one of us is down to 10 miles, we all ditch together. The idea being that like they are all going to hang out together, and then they're all going to crash land in the water together. Strength in numbers or something, I'm not sure. So that happens, and I don't know if you have any thoughts or ideas, any theories.
Well, so like, did all of their compasses, GPS, etc., stop working? Like all of them?
So GPS did not exist.
Not GPS, but like all of their
Yeah.
compasses. Like, did all of their compasses not work? Did they? Because if one of them is having issues realizing where they are, how did all of them end up going the wrong way, hypothetically speaking? And I mean, they could have just seen islands or something and thought they were something that they weren't. But like, that's a long way to go. to
Yeah.
still just be to not know where you are when you think you
Yeah.
have an idea where you are. Now, that also goes to the terrifying reality of how vast the ocean is and just how vast things are. But at the same time, like, I don't know, it feels fishier than just high traffic to me.
So, minor spoiler, you asked, did all of their compasses stop working? Minor spoiler, don't know. And we will not, probably.
See, and that's one of those things that it's just like, because I assume these guys are working for the military. They know what they're doing for the most
Yeah.
part. You would
Yeah,
assume.
they've all got like hundreds of hours of flight time at least.
Well, then again, you also think maybe World War II was often criticized as being called the Children's Crusade, because they were sending a bunch of 18-year-olds, some 17-year-olds, who really
Yeah.
didn't know what they were doing, out to die. So at the same time, like, there's back and forth on that. Now, these guys, five being selected for this training drill, probably at least one of them knew what was going on and
Yeah.
knew like what they were doing. So the
I mean, there was a
confusion,
boss.
yeah. So the confusion among the five of them, first and foremost, with like, what's your call sign, and like having to have dialogue to figure out who's who, kind of thing, leads me
Yeah.
to believe, what if they had, what if they were depressurized? They had some kind of like oxygen
Mm.
thing going on, and the confusion made them, instead of going straight in the direction they thought they were going, just kind of like go in a circle almost, like just
Mm.
a bigger circle. What if that happened? I don't think aliens make sense for this, but like, what if there's some kind of like a polarity thing that was going on, not necessarily in that area, but what about at that time, that caused the compasses to malfunction? What if there
Well,
was
these
something
are all good questions and all
underwater
like pretty common theories. What I will say is that the threshold for hypoxia is pretty high. Like it might be up to like 15, 16,000 feet, maybe 17,000 feet, which is pretty high.
there? They
And
were
so I
just
would
so
guess that they probably
confused.
wouldn't be quite that high. What was that?
They were just so confused.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so there have been plenty of like, is it a polarity issue? Did they get abducted by aliens or like intercepted by aliens? And so lots of theories like that. The
Did they go
most
through a
prevailing
wormhole?
theory, a wormhole. Yeah, lots of theories. The most prevailing theory is that the captain, with a lot of experience, well experienced guy, they thought that they were flying over the Florida Keys, but they were actually flying over the Bahamas, which meant that the direction to get home was not northeast, it was like west,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. And that, so then they, assuming they're in one place, they fly the direction that they think they need to go to get home, and then fly so long that like now they're too far away to even like get back.
And now they're just
Um,
lost in the Atlantic.
yeah, and so that's kind of the prevailing theory, but even it has a couple flaws. Like they knew that they were going to the Bahamas, like towards the Bahamas, so it's not like all of a sudden the experienced pilot is like, the Keys, what?
Yeah.
Like it's just interesting. But then not only that, like there were some kind of rules that they had in place, which was essentially, hey, if you're flying over the ocean and you feel lost, fly west and you'll get back. Like if you're not sure where you are, set your heading to 270 and just go. And eventually you'll get over the states again and you'll be okay. Because if you're lost in the Atlantic, go west and you'll get back home. And then a couple other rules that were pretty similar to that. And they didn't follow them until it was probably too late. And so those are kind of some of that's the prevailing theory, but even it has some like, but then why this or why that? So there's that. So it becomes clear pretty quickly that these five planes are lost. And so like later that day, the Navy sends two planes. They're listed as flying boats. Like the official like name of it is like the Mariner, and so it's just one of those boats with a little or planes with little things on its feet
Oh, those
that
things.
can
Okay,
land on
gotcha,
water.
gotcha.
Yeah. But like military versions of those, so they might even be more militaristic or whatever. I don't know.
Bulky.
So they send two of those out to go look for them, and so they send them out, and only one of them comes back.
Hmm.
Do you have thoughts on that?
So this harkens back to our episode, The Ghost Ship with the Most Ship.
Mm,
I'm using your theory.
okay.
The pilot that made it back was actually a murderer, and he decided to take down the other pilots. They
Mm,
found them, but he couldn't let them escape. Or there was like some kind of like oceanic gas that got up and got in their brains and made them feel funny. That I feel like I've read that somewhere. I don't
yeah.
know. Like, how did the two get so set? So did they go in different directions, or did they go out together
I mean, they're going out in a searching pattern, and it would be inefficient in the searching pattern for like,
to be close?
yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So
Were there any like radio signals from the one that didn't make it back?
so nothing of note in what I saw, but a pretty key thing that I did omit is that a witness saw a huge explosion. The prevailing theory is that the plane exploded. So
That's a good theory. Um,
yeah, and like there were specific issues with that exact aircraft where like some certain hose could come undone at like just the wrong time, and like if it did that in the right circumstance and rough conditions, then hypothetically it could explode. And so it like they weren't the best of conditions, and so the theory is that it just randomly went out for this search operation, and in that process exploded.
so that kind of reminds me of how the band 21 Pilots got their name. Do you know that story?
Sure don't.
So essentially, there was this story about some plane engineer or whatever who recognized that he had made an error in building some planes, and it was going to cause the planes to crash or to malfunction in a way that was like going to be bad. And he had the choice to either go back on this work and all the time and energy put into it to fix these previous planes, or to just fix the error in the new ones he was making, or something along those lines. And it ended up leading to the death of 21 pilots,
Mm,
essentially, is my understanding of the memory I have of reading it years ago.
sweet. I
So,
will I will Google it immediately after we're done
yeah, that's fair.
so I can learn more. But
Because
yeah,
that sounds like a
so
DJ episode.
that that's funny.
uh,
Aviation accidents, but the cats.
and then whatever the heck Gage comes up with.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever military operation, project, conspiracy Gage brings to the table. But yeah, so that's what happened. Essentially, seven aircraft went out that day, and six of them did not return. And so it, I'm sure the Bermuda Triangle already had some amount of reputation, and all of its reputation isn't staked on these, but that certainly didn't help.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bad neighborhood before. It was definitely a bad neighborhood afterwards. And yeah, so the official kind of record of it essentially guesses that they thought they were in one place, they weren't there. Excuse me. They ended up in the wrong place. And then the record just says that for the other plane, the theory is that it exploded.
Interesting. Okay.
So
Well, you know what
that's
they
that.
say about the official military records? The official military records state that the Orang Medan was a real ship. So,
Boom. So it was a real ship just as much as that plane exploded.
yeah.
Boom. All in all, it was like I think it was like 26 lives lost or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
Did
Multiple people. It
multiple
was
people
like
in each plane?
it was like 13 on the the
The
one, like the
one?
rescue one.
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
it was a well-stocked plane.
Yeah, that is a well-stocked plane. Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, I'm gonna look that number up. It feels a bit more respectful to give the actual number. All 14 naval aviators on Flight 19 were lost, as well as all 13 crew members of a Martin PBM Mariner flying boat that was launched to look for them.
You heard it here first, folks.
Unless you heard it somewhere else. So 27 is the answer, is the math
Wow.
to that. But anyways, that's that. So that's all the aviation that I brought to the table for today. Next time we do a baby archive, I'll probably have more because somehow those are the only stories I end up with. Maybe I'll try to do some like science or something.
It'll either be the radio, how it worked
That's
pre-computers,
true.
or how the 21 Pilots story happened.
Or the sexual revolution of the 1960s. And
Or 9/11.
oh, that'd be a fun deep dive.
That could be. I wouldn't necessarily define the baby archives as deep dives. They're like quick dives. Like
Yeah.
we're definitely getting the bends as we come up from this dive.
Anyways, we're everything but the cats. We have been, always will be, and we are. In Revelation, one of my favorite passages in the whole Bible is found in Revelation, and multiple times throughout Revelation. I don't like where I'm going with this already. Anyways, multiple times in Revelation, the angels and the church, they're worshiping God, and they say like, "Behold the Lamb," or "Behold like God, who was and is to come." And that's just a very common refrain, and it's like common throughout Scripture as well. But towards the end of Revelation, they say, "Behold the Lamb, who was and is," and they do not say who is to come, because he is not to come. Like he was and he is,
Hmm.
and like he is here, and that's that. And it's just a really powerful passage. And for now, we are and were and are to come. Everything but the cats. So that's that. Huge shout out to everyone who's listening to this by name, Garrett. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you guys. We really do. It means a lot to us that you guys take the time to listen to us, and you have been coming out in droves for some of these recent episodes, and so we really appreciate that. We really appreciate you guys. So thank you. Huge shout out to Adam Ward and Jared Scrother for writing our intro music and outro music respectfully. No, they had no respect, but they did it respectively for sure. Yeah. Anyone else that you'd like to thank, Gage?
Yeah, as you might have noticed, I'm wearing a cool new shirt. Look at this little guy. It's something we don't talk about, but it is an orange grumpy house pet that is in a spacesuit. Uh,
Always.
always. And so this, if you can't catch the drift, is Orange Cat Always. I officially have a shirt. It's awesome. If you have a cat, any feline needs, or you just like cat-related stuff, there's
You can't get enough catnip.
yeah, like I keep a little baggie right here. But, anything that you might need that's cat related or just cat adjacent, you like your cats, go to Orange Cat Always. They're a friend of the podcast. They found us, and we're so glad they did. And if you go to www.orangecatalways.com/everythingbutthecats and use the code when you're checking out everything but the cats, you can get 10% off your whole order. So that means you can get this shirt for 10% off. You can get this scratch board, which is apparently one of their most popular items, for 10% off. Heck, you could probably get a cat for 10% off. I don't know. They've got all kinds of stuff and all kinds of cool sales going on, and we're just excited to be able to work with them. So thank you to them. Thank you to you for sticking around. If you have any ideas for stuff that you'd like us to talk about in the future, any suggestions for things that we can do game wise or anything like that, please leave it in the comments below. Even if you're on Spotify, you can do that under the episodes now. leave a like, leave a comment, and to the many percent of you that aren't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe and just show some love in that way. But regardless of what you do, we just want to say thank you for sticking along for the ride. It's been fun, it's been real, and it's just a lot of fun for me actually. Like, it really is. It's just genuinely so cool to see the involvement, and also to get to hang out with DJ and to feel like we get to hang out with a big group of our friends who listen in on our conversations, as people kind of always have as long as we've been friends.
Sure have.
Yep.
We've got stories.
So, thank you for being you. Stay lovely. Get lovelier if you can. Uh,
Go thank yourselves.